Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys, I have to admit I don't know how I'm going to approach this topic today, but it's something I've been wanting to discuss and talk about for quite some time on the channel. And as I've been doing this channel going on, 4 years now, I guess you could say. 4 years, I can't believe. In February it will be 4 years. But as I've done this channel and I've seen different people come on my channel, the different groups of people that have subscribed to me and commented on my videos, I've kind of started to notice this. And as I look at other players and other YouTubers and what people comment on their videos, and I start to notice some things. And I know MColt40, Robbie Cole, brought this up about a while ago, and he was talking about dinosaur type of players. Or, and another way of saying that is old school type of players. Players that, were successful and have played the game since the beginning, or, for at least 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, plus. Back when Gladiator Beasts, or, they actually remember Dad Return, or they remember the, Invasion of Chaos. They remember it. They played those formats competitively at some level. Now, for me, I was always blessed growing up because I got in this certain area of the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! When it started becoming more competitive in like 2003, 2004, more 2004 when 2004 Invasion of Chaos really came out. The game started getting more competitive and I've played ever since then. I really haven't taken a break except for like 2009 doing Teledad format because that was too damn fucking expensive and too crazy back then, believe me. I was like, no, I'm not doing this. So in college, and I had other priorities at the time as well. So for that sake of the matter is, I played this game for a long period of time. I've had relative success in it at the regional level before. I've done fairly well for myself. I've gone to a couple YCSs, done respectable, I've always thought. And so I've enjoyed my career in Yu-Gi-Oh! But as I've gotten older, you have something called responsibilities, and you just can't go play Yu-Gi-Oh! As much as you used to when you were younger. You have things you need to do. I have a house to pay for now that my father left me. I have bills to pay. I have work to go for, work to go to. I have, work on the weekends sometimes, so I can't go to that regionals. I can't go to that YCS. There's usually the closest YCSs that have hit me in the last 5 years are pretty much Philadelphia. The last one that was close to me was YCS Chantilly, I think in 2011, 2010, 12. Something like, it was a long ass time ago, pretty much is what I'm saying. So, I've been playing this game for such a long period of time, and I've seen players come and go, and I've noticed on my channel, and other people's channels, like I was saying earlier, that there's a lot of new duelists coming into the game, and a lot of the old ones have left and grown up to some degree. There's still a lot of older players in there, but there's not as many that remember, the older formats. Now, I'm not saying like all the old players are gone. I'm just saying like it's not as prevalent as it was when I started this channel compared to now, pretty much is what I'm saying. The game has changed a lot, but still, like, I just noticed that there's less and less of those older players that remember those older formats. I talk to players at my locals, I talk to players, I meet, when I've gone to a couple regionals, and they don't remember certain formats, really. They don't remember, they started like during Dragon Ruler format or before Dragon Ruler format, during the Zexal era. They don't remember, Gladiator Beast being, the best thing, just like BA nowadays, it was around forever. Forever that deck was, because it was such a good deck. They don't remember, Perfect Circle Monarchs. They don't remember Formula Monarchs. They don't remember Dad Return. They don't remember when Solemn Judgment was at 3 and nobody thought it was a good card. They don't remember these older formats, even going back further to Invasion of Chaos. I can honestly say there was only a couple of people before Lithium uploaded his video, like when he started doing the Yu-Gi-Oh! Tournament things he does on his channel, showcasing older decks. Nobody really knew what the heck 2004 Chaos was until he profiled, because I remember that format where people were using BLS and Chaos Emperor Dragon legitly. Like, that was a legit thing, strategy, and so many broken cards, and people were like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, but when you talk to somebody about it, they don't remember that format. They don't remember a Berserk Gorilla with, Wild Nature's Release. They don't remember the Donzalute control. They don't remember, Gizno. They don't remember Horse Level 8. Not a lot of people still remember Horse Level 8 because it's very iconic still, I think. It's a beautiful card. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, people don't remember the day Mobius came out and how broken Mobius, the regular Monarch, was. They don't remember how broken, like, was it Zaborg was actually. Zaborg was actually a pretty dang good card. If you play GOAT format, you remember this. But pretty much, like, people don't remember these formats. They don't remember when Lava Golem Burn was a thing. You know, back way before even you engaged in a Chaos. People don't remember one of the first anti-meta decks, which was Clown Control, which was out to, you know, beatdown strategies. People don't remember these things. There's not a lot of players that remember those formats, and I feel myself sometimes being kind of alone in that aspect, because I've played, you know, a lot in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! I was lucky enough when I was younger to have access to a lot of expensive cards, courtesy of my grandmother buying me packs and always taking me to locals when I was younger, as well as my father. So I had the access and the friends and the resources to build these decks that I wanted to back then. Not always the best way, because we had to work with what we had, but yeah, we had some of the cards access to, and I remember how broken they were, you know? So, like, I talk to people about this because I'm 27 years old, almost. I'll be 27 in May. So I've played this game since 2002 when I was 12, 13. I was 13 years old in 2002. So I was already a teenager by that time. And I was making money by just cutting the lawns, you know, doing odd end stuff. So I was making decent money to buy Yu-Gi-Oh cards back then. So I just think about it nowadays, you know, all these older formats. And I feel like I'm kind of like, people don't remember them. And I know the past is the past, but when people talk about current formats and current situations and, you know, old school cards, you know, that nobody plays, and I'm like, yeah, I remember that card being a playable card back then. People played it a little bit. You know, they talk about, oh, the game is so broken now, and then they don't look back in the future because they never played the past to say, yeah, the game was just as broken, you know, back then as it is now, really. It hasn't changed that much. Like floodgates, they've been around forever. People don't say that because they never played back in the day. Never were used to that. And I'm not saying they're ignorant or anything of that nature, because that's not the case. They just never experienced that. They never had to go through that. You know, I did. You know, what's that old Bane quote? That Bane meme I see, like, from The Dark Knight Rises. You know, he's like, I was forged in the ancient, you know, Yu-Gi-Oh ways. You know, something like that. It's on Zodiac, I saw. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you were forged, you were created, you were molded by the old school Yu-Gi-Oh, and it's carried you all the way here. You know, there's a reason why you see when I do deck profiles, I usually, you know, I use certain cards where I find these random texts because I've used them in the past. I've used them at some point in time. I remember these cards. I remember using them. So as I sit here looking at an old school player, you know, looking at the future of Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm always going to be interested in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't see a reason why I would quit. I also see a lot of newer school players coming back into the game since the movie's release and all this I wouldn't say fan-based cards, but like, well, pretty much the support for older archetypes, legacy support, has been going on like crazy over the last year or a year and a half. And you know, you've had anything from BLS to Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon to Buster Blader, like a lot of old school nostalgic decks like Toons and the Egyptian Gods. You know, they've all been getting support out of the wazoo over the last year and a half. And as we're heading into the new year, we're going to even get more of that probably. We're having a set, you know, based more around GX and, you know, the older cards, and we're just getting more, each year we're getting more fan service support, which players love to death. I can't tell you how many players love that, because everybody thinks in this game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's just the casuals and it's the competitives. There's another base of players that nobody admits to being it, or they just put their names in one of the other two camps, and that's a casual competitive player. And me, as I've grown up in this game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I've had to take on more responsibilities as an adult and everything, I've had to become more of a casual competitive player. You know, I will build that deck. I will spend the money to build that deck the best way I can. But, you know, I may not be able to go to every regionals, every YCS, you know, every day, because I don't have the money for that. I don't have the time for that. I have other responsibilities. If Yu-Gi-Oh, you know, had money support, maybe I would change some of that, but it's a hobby. It's a hobby. So, I mean, that's just me rambling on a little bit more, I guess, than I should. But, you know, playing this game for a long time, the game has changed and evolved. There have been good formats and bad formats. And when I hear people say, you know, again, like, oh, this format's so broken, you know, Zodiacs are so broken. Yeah. Well, I remember other formats were just as bad as Zodiacs. and more expensive than, there are more expensive formats than that. I mean, nothing can top Teledad, when Dad was like ungoshly expensive just for one dad. I mean, if you didn't live through that, you don't know what the heck you're talking about, because even the other decks were still expensive at that time. There were the second tier, other tier 1 decks and the tier 2 decks, they were expensive. Thank gosh we do not have to relive through that anymore, I don't think. Even this format being expensive as it is a little bit, Yu-Gi-Oh! Has been more expensive throughout the course of its career, and compared to other card games, it's pretty cheap for the most part. You can pick up, a tier 1 deck and a structure deck. I mean, back in the day, I would have loved for that to happen. I mean, that really wasn't the case, when structure decks first came out. That was definitely not the case. They were like just a jumbled combination of decks and reprints. So those are just my thoughts on the old school player, and just talking about, how the community as a whole, I feel like, is starting to lose a lot of its old school players. I'm not saying that, especially those guys that, back in the day they were competitive, and, now because of situations in life, they have to play more casual, but they still have that edge, they still have that drive to be the best that they can, like I do. Like I said, I'm a casual competitive player. I float between both worlds. I can understand both worlds to some extent. There's some things confound me and I don't understand, but I understand for the most part everything because I play in both. So those are just my thoughts, guys, and until next time, tell me what you think. Do you think the community is losing a lot of its older school players as time has gone on? I know players leave for different reasons and things of that nature, but like I've always told people, like, you say you're going to quit Yu-Gi-Oh, but at some point in time in the future, you will probably come back to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh if you have a chance, because probably a lot of your friends that you have in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of the friends you have in your life are from Yu-Gi-Oh, so they always seem to come back. So till next time, guys, take care, have fun dueling, good luck dueling, and I'll see you guys next time, and take care, everybody. I'll see you guys next time, and good luck dueling to all of you.